All right, guys, I said I was going to do this video, so here it is. Let me get close. Let's talk a little bit about this Bassmasters info rule, disqualifications, how it looks, how it should look, how all this stuff is going down. Okay, I'm just going to give you my perspective of it all. First off, we're going to go over every one of these step by step. These guys getting DQ'd is not that big of a deal. Well, let me explain this. It's a big deal in the scheme of things, but none of it surprises me. I don't know if people are like surprised at this, but this has been going on forever. In fact, I think it was 10 times worse years ago. I think it's probably the least it's ever been is right now. I think less guys are cheating and breaking the info rule than ever before. Now, on the flip side, more people are getting in trouble for it. Okay? Way more people. That's because for years, MLF and Bassmaster didn't punish anyone. Or if they did, they kept it very quiet. But they didn't punish anyone. They didn't punish anyone. It was well known. Like the stories I heard from elite guys about it, and they knew, like, one of these days we're going to do, if there's ever a tell-all about the information they got, like where people won tournaments, just saying. So it happened all the time, okay? And it's not like, oh, I heard this, like, these are legit stuff. The MLF stuff, it was not MLF, it was FLW. The FLW stuff was wild. I'll put it to you this way. There's some guys that got DQ'd, and I wouldn't say DQ'd. People wouldn't realize it, but they just didn't fish that event. They were asked not to fish, one in particular. And what's funny is the guy who he asked was a professional fisherman too, and so he turned him in. And then we all knew about it, right? I mean, it was well known. I think they had to do something because we all knew about it. And we're getting to that age now of technology to where that, like, you got to get in front of things. So if they knew, we all knew, and about this time there was cameras, social media was getting pretty whatever, we were going to say something and everyone was going to know and they were going to look bad. So they had to do some stuff. But here's the funny part though. When the guy asked him, he's like, hey, isn't there a no info rule for y'all? Like me, I don't really know what the info rule is for everyone, like the days. Like, I'm not counting the days. So if someone asks me, I don't know if it's a 30 days or whatever, I'd just be like, hey, don't y'all have, like, in there a system in place? And he was like, yeah, man, but it's FLW, man. Everyone does it. And it felt like tons of people did it, like that it was okay to do because everyone was doing it. And when I mean everyone, was everyone doing it? No. But there were so many people doing it that it was looked at this rule that was like, whatever. It really was. And then other guys, like, followed it. And there's always been guys that followed it. There's always been guys that it's not even living in the gray. When they started putting the rules in place, they started living in the gray. But before, they just broke it. Like, it was like, whatever. Like, they didn't even care about it because there was no punishment. And that was the thing, is that, like, you were threatened with punishment. So it's like that whole deal, like, it just makes the honest people honest. Honest guys were like, they just didn't do it. And then the dishonest guys were like, this is great. And this went on for years upon years upon years. The problem is it only takes a couple times for you to be like, okay, I've had enough. And what happens is you're doing things the right way and you get beat by someone who does something the wrong way. And then you start to see those guys, you know, get a deal here, get praise here, have to listen to them give an interview about how they found this spot and they did all this work and did all this stuff. And I'm like, no, they didn't. And you know the true story. Okay. So what happened is all the guys that were honest, and I think there were probably more honest guys than not, they're like, hey, let's do away with this info rule because we're getting beat by it. And so they were like, they pushed for it. So a lot of the guys pushed for this info rule. A lot of them did. And I agree with them. And here's the thing. I don't I don't feel sorry for any of them. It is what it is. The info rule's there. I have info rules in almost every tournament I fish. Now it might only be a week or whatever it is. It's part of your job. Just like understand that there's an info rule and you've got to be whatever. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next part. So the info rule should be there. Now I see a lot of comments going, "Hey, just get the info rule because people keep on breaking it." Let me set the scene for that. Okay. Hey, people keep on stealing stuff. So let's get rid of the law that says you should be allowed to steal because people keep on stealing stuff. Let's get rid of things because people keep on breaking that rule or breaking that law. And since they keep doing it, let's just get rid of it altogether. This is me pausing for a dramatic effect. No, I don't agree with that. Keep it there. Keep it there. It's doing its job. It's going to make people more afraid. It's working. Like the rule's working. That's the whole reason for the rule. That's why laws are in place, so you don't do stuff because there's consequences. That's all we wanted were consequences. They caught people breaking the info rule. There was just no consequences. So now there are. Now, with the latest ones or the earliest ones or any ones that's happened before, I'm not going to sit here and say I know exactly what went down on every one of them. They definitely, I think, are trying to hide them to a degree, which is fine. I don't care about that. The one thing I'll say is this. I was thinking about this. I saw a video and we were talking about lie detector tests. And here's the thing. I was trying to think about how many lie detector tests I've taken in my lifetime. I know that I've won close to 50 tournaments, 10 of them probably individual ones, so with co-anglers and stuff, so those don't count. So maybe there's 40 in there. Of those 40, I'd say half of them probably had polygraphs, maybe more, probably at least 30, something like that. And then I've probably taken half of them because usually you or your partner take them. So 10 to 15, somewhere around 10 to 12 to 15 polygraphs I've taken in my life. I've taken one extra one because I know I took one for a TXTT because we got a check and they said our name got drawn as a random draw to take the polygraph. It was a random polygraph. I'm like, all right. So I went and took that one. I've taken one. The first one I ever took was wild. I should tell that story one time. I was like 15 or 16. And then I took another. I've taken some that were like weird. Not weird, but just there was one in particular that I remember that they got pretty personal on some and I'd heard that they got rid of that person because that person asked some like crazy wild questions to some fishermen. But there was one that I took that was rough. We won a boat. Me and my partner won a boat, and he said he was rough. Like he was like, man, this is like, I'm intense. He worked for the CIA and did murder cases and things like that. And he was like, hey, we're going to do this at least 3 times. Because if you've never taken one, they usually administer it twice. Okay. So they ask you the questions. By the way, most of the questions they know beforehand. They read them all out. In case y'all didn't know, they read out all the questions. Make sure you understand the questions, and then they go through them, and then they restart it and do it again. He was like, hey, we're going to probably do this a minimum of 3 times. They are very extensive questions, things like that. He said possibly 4. I said, okay. I did it twice. He said, hey, we're done. I said, hey, I thought we were going to do it more. He's like, hey, man, it looked good. So we've taken a bunch of them. Now, I still think those polygraphs, and I don't know, I have taken a polygraph from FLW. The first FLW tournament I ever fished was on Rayburn, and it was an open at that time. I forgot about this one, and I think I was in second or third after day 2, and I had to take a polygraph because I was in second or third. So I took that one as well. So that was, even though I think I had a marshal that day too, but it didn't matter. They were asking me about info rules and all that stuff. On my home lake, I had a fishing partner that I fished with all the time, and me and him didn't talk. for like a month and a half. Like we didn't discuss fishing. Like I followed the rules, right? So anyways, I know how all that works. What I'll say is this. I don't know. I'm not sticking up for any of the guys. There's some gray area because everyone's like, oh, there's gray area, or, oh, I read something on social media or this or that. I hope that's not what's causing these failed tests because that would be upsetting. I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. Like totally guessing. It just could be the fact that like they might have just bent the rules a little bit. And they did get, like, maybe they didn't mean to, whatever. But I don't think if like all of a sudden I had a no off limits on a lake and y'all wrote a comment on my YouTube that was like, I catch them on a black and blue jig, so-and-so, you know. One, it's public, but I'm not asking for that, right? Like, there's got to be, I don't think it's that. I think it's actual, hey man, they're getting information. If they're not, if it's pretty gray as to what's happening, or if it's something like that, because I will say, I fished a Bass Champs 2 years ago on LBJ. I put out the video. There's a no information rule while you're practicing. So there's an off limits rule where you can't talk to anyone that's been on the lake, okay? And then you get to practice Friday and then fish tournament. I was practicing on Friday. I was passing a guy on the bank. Same thing happened. Like their video's out in the public. I shared it. And I even called the tournament director. I didn't call the tournament director when it happened because I was like, I wasn't worried about it because of how I handled it. I didn't put the video out yet, but we did good in the tournament. But as I was passing, I was sight fishing. The guy's like, hey, started talking about fishing, catfishing or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden he kind of brings up like fishing. Like, I'm like, hey, I can't, because he started talking about like, hey, have you been over to so-and-so? And I'm like, hey, I don't even know where that's at because the lake I was on. I was like, hey, I can't get any information. He's like, oh, are you in a tournament? So he knew I was in a tournament. Or he knew I was, like he understood what tournaments were, because a lot of guys don't understand what tournaments are. He's like, oh, are you fishing a tournament tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. I said, I can't get any information. I said, appreciate, sorry. I was like, he goes, oh, okay. I thought it was done, right? Like conversation was over. So I'm going, and then he was like, he just started it back up again. Like 3 seconds later, he's like, hey, well, if you go over there to so-and-so, there's a bunch of, and like on video, you can see me just trolling away from him, shaking my head going, like I just was leaving the conversation. I didn't respond to him. I didn't anything. And then I called up my fishing partner. I was like, you got to hear this. Well, I didn't report that happened because one, I don't know what he was saying. I stopped listening. I didn't care. And I removed myself. Like, right, I can't shut the guy up. I already told him. And I called the tournament director up because I was going to put out the video. I said, hey, I'm going to show you this. I didn't call you because I know I didn't do anything wrong. And there wasn't, this is what it was, and no big deal. And I shared it with him. I'm like, you good with that? He's like, that's exactly how I want you to handle it. Couldn't have handled it any better. You told him no, you cut it off, you walked away, trolled away. So that was my interaction with the guy. I don't think, now I could be wrong. Now, if they came up and said, hey, he's inconclusive on this, now luckily I had a video of it. But if I had video and didn't tell Bassmaster, I'm throwing this out there. I'm going to throw this out there. This is a make-believe scenario, sort of, because it happened, but not really. That scenario happened of my interaction with that guy. If I never told Bassmaster about it, right, and then I took this polygraph, and they said, hey, there's something on here about something, and I said, okay, and like, you're inconclusive on information, and I tell them what happened, and they're like, I don't know, man, it's inconclusive, which means you didn't fail, but you didn't pass. You're being untruthful. And I'm like, okay. Well, then I would be like, okay, well, here's the video. Because if you watch the video, you're like, oh, well, that's exactly how we want you to handle it. If that's the case, then I'd be upset. I don't know if that's the case. That's just a made-up scenario of, there's always that what if with polygraphs. If you've ever taken one, it's this weird feeling that like, you're telling the truth, but you're just trusting that this thing is like hooked up to you, and that it's gonna read the fact that you're telling the truth or not. It's a very, you feel very helpless sometimes when taking one on the result, right? I feel confident when I do that, when I answer a question, but you're like, man, that's a scary thing to have your integrity say that like you're lying. And it's this thing that's kind of weird. I'm just saying, like, that's how all of us, I've never met anyone that's taken a polygraph that didn't have that feeling when taking one, or that everyone's nervous because everyone's like, man, I've had some people like dang near faint. I mean, turn red. Like it's the anxiety for some people. And they've done nothing wrong. They have anxiety about stuff like that. So it is a nerve-wracking thing. And then it's nerve-wracking because, I forgot about this one. Yeah, I had to one of the hardest ones I ever took was when I was younger. Sorry, I just thought about this. Because normally when you win a tournament, you kind of know you might win and things like that. And so you go in there and time's gone by and you're kind of like, you're high on the win, but you're just not thought about it. We were on Conroe. It was the first boat we ever won. So I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s, 19, 20. I don't know how old I was. And I caught a giant on Conroe. It was a big bass tournament. And I caught it. We put it in the live well. We were like 4 minutes from weigh-in. We drive up to the weigh-in. We roll up there. We put this fish on the scale, and it's winning. It's leading the whole thing. Now, we still had another day to go, but at the time, it was like a 10-pounder. And usually 10-pounders win. It was like for a brand new boat or truck. We put it on there, and it's big, and I'm like, within like 10 minutes from me catching it, I'm on stage with it. Like I'm on the highest of highs, right? Adrenaline, like jacked up, like we might just win a boat. I'm 19 years old. I don't have any money. And so all that's going on, and we walk off and like, hey, you got to go take a polygraph. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I've taken them before, but I was like, I've never taken one with like being like up here. I don't know what my heart rate was, but it had to be through the roof just because of everything going on. And I was like, we were all jacked up and like, it was just wild, right? And so I remember taking that, and I was like in there trying to like settle down, and I could feel everything because I was still so jacked up. She said I did fine, but like I said, there's a lot of emotions that go along with that. So I don't know. I'm just talking about all this stuff because on one hand, I still think they need to have the rule. I like the no info rule. I like all that. I'm just hoping that the way they're doing the procedures and everything, because like I said, it's all speculation on our part as to how these polygraphs are being done. I saw a guy make a video, and I agree with him on this one thing. There's one word that you can put in any of these polygraphs, just one. It's like, did you get info? And you'd be like, yeah, info was given to me in a sense of it was said out loud, but I wasn't asking for it. Like kind of like me. The guy started shouting out info after I said no, and I walked away. So I got info, but I can't control that guy. But my intent wasn't to get info. My intent wasn't like, oh, you're catfishing. Oh, okay. Like, or like, hey man, so you go shooting gar at night. Yeah, oh, that's cool, man. Like, you ever see any bass while you do it? I heard bass get up there and you can see them in the spotlights. Yeah, I see them. Oh, okay. Right? Like, the intent was, I had an intent of trying to get some type of information or knowledge from it. That's where it's like, an honest mistake is fine. If you just happen to know, and this happened earlier this year to a guy in the opens. But if you know some guy who won a tournament, man, you better, and he's friends with you, you just don't speak to him. Like, it's so hard too, because you're like, man, that info right there isn't just info. It's info to maybe win a tournament. And I think that's the problem, is that most people don't care about regular info. It's that they come across someone that knows some info that's like gonna make a difference. And some people just can't walk away from that. And so I think the intent part is maybe that's what the question they're failing is, the intent part. And we all know what intent is. And so I don't know. That's speculation on my part. I'm just hoping that these polygraphs are done the right way and that it's not this gray area. Like the example I gave y'all. I hope that's not what it is. I hope it's like pretty cut and dry where it's like, hey, here's the questions that they're getting wrong or that it's coming up. And those are questions that we'd all be like, okay, well, that makes sense. But keep the rule. I get it. It's hard. It's your job. You're one of the top 100 guys in the country and you get to fish for a living. If there's 8 or 9 lakes on that freaking schedule, don't talk about them. Plain and simple. And if one of them's your home lake, yeah, just cut people off. I don't know. I don't have people come up to me randomly all the time and start trying to give me information about lakes like that. I'm sorry, that just doesn't happen. I don't know what to say. Like I hang out with nothing but fishermen, and I don't have guys trying to give me info all the time, like ever. In fact, it's the last thing they're trying to do. Like the last thing they want to do is give me information. Maybe because I fish against them, but still, I don't just offer up information to people ever. People know these guys fish. I don't know. That's my thought on that. What do y'all think?